Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about the case of Elizabeth Omotero Santos. Elizabeth was a Florida native, residing in Wasilla. Elizabeth was murdered while visiting her friend Lizette Hoagland Hall on August 8, 2020 in Anchorage, Alaska. Elizabeth had just recently broke up with her boyfriend Dustin of 10 years. She was visiting Lizette just to clear her head. She was stabbed at least 10 times and then placed in the back of an ambulance while handcuffed. We're gonna jump into Elizabeth's story, starting from the beginning. On the morning of August 8, 2020, at about 6 a.m., a fight between Elizabeth Santos and Lizette Hoagland Hall occurred. Lizette admitted to losing this fight as she fell hard on the floor. Lizette and her son Desmond, who's 22 years old, ran upstairs to hide in the bathroom and call 911. Lizette claims that Elizabeth was unharmed before police arrived. At 6:16 a.m., police arrive on scene. Elizabeth was incoherent, she was moving erratically, and occasionally slurred her speech while mumbling and unable to stand. She was unable to tell the officers what happened to her. Police believed it was from something she consumed. She was dressed in only an open robe, and wounds didn't seem serious. However, the robe had a lot of blood on it. As time passed, Elizabeth started losing consciousness, and she began spelling out her name. Lizette had scratches and bruises on her face from the fight. The house was a mess with plants on the floor. Lizette began wiping Elizabeth's blood off of the floor, and according to Lizette, it was Elizabeth who caused most of this mess. At 6:42 a.m., Elizabeth was handcuffed. At 6:46 a.m., the ambulance showed up, and Elizabeth was placed inside. Her last words were the hospital that she wanted to be taken to before she lost consciousness. At 7:36 a.m., the ambulance arrived at the hospital, and Elizabeth went into emergency surgery. Doctors soon realized that Lizette's story was not adding up. According to Lizette, Elizabeth attacked her and then began stabbing herself. At 7:56 a.m., two officers were told to go back to the scene to get Lizette and her son Desmond and bring them into custody, almost an hour since they were last at the scene. Lizette admitted to using Elizabeth's phone to call multiple people during the time that the police were gone. Her last call was made to Nikki, and Nikki is Elizabeth's sister. Police then took Lizette and Desmond into custody. In some of the footage, you can see Desmond in the back of the police car being transferred to the police department. In this footage, Desmond is seen smiling and waving at somebody outside of the car. Lizette and Desmond were then interviewed in separate rooms at the police station. When it came to Desmond's interview, he asked for an attorney, and he's never given a statement as to what actually happened that day. Lizette tells police that Elizabeth was unharmed and how she ran to the bathroom with Desmond to call the police. It was said that Elizabeth's wounds were self-inflicted, although the only two suspects had very inconsistent stories. According to Elizabeth's friends and family, she was not taking any drugs, and she had no history of violence. This was very unusual behavior. Police did collect DNA samples and fingerprints from the scene. However, none of these samples were ever tested in Elizabeth's case. Lizette and Desmond were released the same day and were never charged with anything. The crime scene photos of the knives that were seen were the ones that were said to be used to cause harm to Elizabeth. However, as you can see in the photographs, there is no blood on them. Lizette also has a criminal history of multiple violent assaults. The only person interviewed by Alaska Police Department with anything negative to say about Elizabeth was her ex-boyfriend Dustin, and Dustin was actually friends with Desmond. The investigating parties overseeing the case have been exceedingly nonchalant, dismissive, and sarcastic, insisting that the fatal injuries to the torso, upper thigh, and vital organs were self-inflicted. Despite inconsistent witness statements from Elizabeth's close friends and associates, who have known her for years, all state that Lizette's story makes no sense, and that Elizabeth was not violent, nor was she a drug user. Unfortunately, this case is not being covered. Not enough people are hearing about it, and the case was actually closed. If you could, please sign the petition to help bring justice to not only Elizabeth, but her family as well. They deserve it. The link for the Change.org is below. Just go ahead and click on it and sign the petition. Her story needs to be shared. There is something really off about this whole investigation, and her family needs answers.